Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live, guys, and very serious things that we're watching here that's concerning me. And before we get into this, just a friendly reminder, guys, those of you, if God has laid it upon your heart to support the work that we're doing here, we do need your help, especially now that we're here in Israel. It is a very tough endeavor to meet the demands that we have here, and we thank you. Thank you for those that do support this work and your continued efforts, and prayer as well. Prayer is so vital, especially in an area like we're in now. You can easily go to israelinewslive.org, and soon we will have our .co.il as well attached to our website, so it'll be israelinewslive.co.il. We've actually had this domain for this is going into our third year, just never have gotten it attached, but Brother Aaron will be working on that for us, so we thank God for him and his efforts. But anyway, let's get right into the broadcast here, guys. It's a very important broadcast tonight. I'm watching a series of events that have been going on that have been very concerning to me. And one of those events here is a movement of the Hezbollah troops over into the Syrian side. Now, supposedly they're replacing the Syrian military itself in its battle against ISIS and the rebel groups that the United States is backing. Of course, the U.S. doesn't claim to be backing ISIS at this point now, but they do claim to be backing the moderate rebels. But again, even before we see this movement of troops there by Hezbollah that was actually first reported on September the 8th by the Times of Israel, but even today I'm finding in some articles here coming out on Twitter that they're actually moving in with tanks, etc., but only a stone's throw away from the Israeli border. But as I mentioned in an earlier broadcast today, the Israeli military once again flew in and launched strikes on Syrian army positions there just south of Damascus, on the outskirts. One of the little towns there on the outskirts of Damascus, they did strikes there, took out some of the Syrian military there. And it's concerning me mainly because the retaliations that Prime Minister Netanyahu is doing is because of mortars that are straying over into the Golan. Now, this is the third airstrike that has happened, I believe, in the past week or so, and for the third mortar shell that is strayed over into the Golan. Now, I understand and respect Prime Minister Netanyahu and his desire to keep the Israeli people safe, but I'm also concerned if maybe he may be under pressure of the U.S. government to make such strikes in order to provoke a war that the U.S. could justify coming in there and backing the Israelis up, only to get more ground troops and escalate the situation that's already going on there in Syria. I say that because, as you remember, we reported not too long ago, we believe that the coup that was perpetrated on the Turkish president Erdogan was actually a staged coup that the CIA was involved in with Erdogan. I believe that President Putin of Russia has been duped by Erdogan only to be going along with a failed coup, a staged coup attempt on his country to make it look like he was being overthrown by the United States and that he needed Russia's help. And after he was able to repair the relationship with Russia, then he was able to bring in the tanks and the troops into southern Syria, and slowly but surely he has moved from not only just the one town that he went in there to try to supposedly push out ISIS to protect his border more, but he's now taking into 6 different towns. His objective has been against the Kurdish fighters, and now the U.S. likes to say that they are backed by the U.S., but of course Putin has been very supportive of the Kurdish fighters as well. So I'm watching different things that are taking place, and it very clearly seems to be that the United States is obviously trying to get a justifiable means to create a war and an all-out brawl, so to speak, in the Middle East for one, and as well even with North Korea. Now, I think Kim Jong-un has actually brought a lot of this upon himself with his nuclear tests that he's done. He has definitely provoked the United States. He's provoked South Korea. He's made everybody nervous in the region. But maybe we have not taken the step back just to see why. I don't think anybody would want to live under North Koreans' rules there. You see, they worship the man. Not that the people really want to. I don't believe that they want to do this. This is definitely a very serious dictatorship, and not a good one, mind you. But nonetheless, the latest military drills that were conducted with South Korea with the United States was the massive amount of troops that were involved in this. They're going into the demarcation zone. What were they doing? They were trying to get a response out of North Korea, and they got it. Washington got the response I believe they were looking for. He did another nuclear test. Now they're saying in the papers there that North Korea could have nuclear weapons, or at least not nuclear weapons, but the warhead that could deliver a nuclear bomb by 2020. Not that maybe he doesn't already have that capability even now, but there's some that believe that he does not. It has given, though, the means for Washington to justify an actual ground assault on North Korea, which is exactly what they were practicing with South Korea. At the same time, like I said, Turkey has made its move. Erdogan has gone far beyond that what President Putin expected him that he was going to do. Maybe what they had agreed upon, that he knew he was going to go in to push ISIS out. Then the next thing you know, Erdogan is going further and further inside the border of Syria, claiming as much land as it possibly can. Because Turkey also sees that the nation is falling apart under this battle. And because that Russia has held back and allowed the U.S. even to bully him around, then we see more and more the U.S. is saying to Russia, if you come anywhere near the moderate rebels, we're going to shoot your planes down. The rhetoric, guys, is just ratcheting up unbelievably so. I mean, the Obama administration, and I do want to make it clear, because every so often I get the comments in there, oh gosh, Steve, well, it's not the U.S., it's the Obama administration. I say that over and over and over and over. I know it's not the U.S. people. I know it's not even the U.S. generals per se. Now, I can't speak for all of them, because we know that Breedlove really wants the United States to make a war with Ukraine, and was wanting to do it and push everybody out, including Russia, and fight a war with Russia while they were already there. So you got some generals with some pretty crazy ideas as well over there, which Ukraine is another issue altogether. It's been quiet for about 3 days, but what do we have? We have jets flying in over Donetsk region there. This is Russian jets, but they are not by Russia. They happen to be owned by Ukraine. They have flown jets in. They have flown Mi helicopters in really low over the ground, over the Donetsk area there. Only to do what? To try to send terror in those people in eastern Ukraine, and also to provoke Russia. Just as we saw on the Black Sea not too long ago, there was lots of news reports out there showing that the United States was coming in. They turned their transponders off on their spy plane as they got close to Crimea. And Russia intercepted them. Of course, the U.S. makes a big to-do out of it, but of course, what do you expect? Turn your transponders off, you got a spy plane coming in, Russia's going to check it out. The U.S. will do the same. I mean, we have every right to do so as well, because Russia sends their spy planes over by the United States. So it's tit for tat as far as that. But what I'm seeing right now is some very provocative type of things that are going on. And this is the thing that I wanted to share with you that I saw today, when Israel again goes in and takes out a Syrian army post in that area for a mortar shell that ends up in Israeli territory. But you have to remember, Prime Minister Netanyahu has a policy. Any mortars that come in, any type of shelling that comes into the Israeli territory, he's going to respond with a heavy force. And it doesn't really matter in this case whose shell it was. Even if it was one of the rebel shells that comes over here, he responds to the Syrian army as the one that's going to get the payback for it. Now, my concern is I am watching what is happening here, and this is my personal observation in this whole scenario that I'm watching going on. is Netanyahu being pressured by the United States to do this retaliation, heavy-handedly, mind you, against the Syrian army for strayed mortars? It may not even be the Syrian army's mortars to begin with. Are they being pressured by the United States so that, whether it be the Syrian army or even Hezbollah, if they were to launch an attack on Israel, it would give the United States justified means to come in with a heavy hand of their own and take out Bashar al-Assad? I really am suspicious of all the activities that are going on. And no doubt Prime Minister Netanyahu, he's under a lot of pressure with the United States as it is. He's already under pressure because the U.S., they're making this huge arms deal, renegotiating the contract for the next 10 years for Israel to supply and fund Israel with the necessary means to protect itself. And the Prime Minister is under a heavy burden. And even though he does venture out and he's brave enough to make comments and statements as he did today, he comes out against Mahmoud Abbas because Mahmoud Abbas wants a Jew-free or a Jew-ridden Palestinian state. Doesn't want any Jews in his state. But as the Prime Minister stated, this is the equivalent to ethnic cleansing. He's right. And like he said, it's about time somebody says it. I'm glad he said it, because it is true. If Israel has 2 million Arab citizens living in their own property, and living in the state of Israel, then they could all live together. Now, I know that I have friends that have written me that, there's issues that it's just not possible to be able to live together, and I understand that. But my point when I say this is that 2 million Arabs are already living in Israel right now. So Israel is not saying Israel wants to be Arab-free or Muslim-free. So what right then does Mahmoud Abbas have to say that the Palestinian state is going to be Jew-free, and yet the entire world totally ignores the fact that Abbas says this and nobody could care less? Guys, it's getting way, way out of hand. Way out of hand. And I am concerned, though, going back to this issue of the provocations that are happening. North Korea, we have Turkey entering into Syria, going beyond what Putin was expecting. And as I said, I believe that the coup is a staged coup to throw Putin off. He was betrayed by Erdogan. I really believe he was betrayed by Erdogan. And then, as we mentioned, we saw these ships and stuff. We had the report there of those going into the Black Sea. We have in Ukraine right now, we have the Ukrainian military. They're not even supposed to be flying fighter jets and bombers over the eastern part of Ukraine. That's part of the Minsk agreement. So it's being violated as they fly that over. But I've already seen, we've reported on Israeli News Live, that they are intending on arming these jets, and they're intending on using it on the Donetsk people and the Luhansk people in the very near future. So it's coming. And they have been building up their military, getting it ready. Russia has as well. Don't think that Russia's not getting ready as well. Russia as well has been getting ready. Russia has moved tens of thousands and thousands of troops on the border with Ukraine, on eastern Ukraine, as well as Crimea. And even though NATO has all their troops on Russia's borders, all up through Latvia, Lithuania, etc., Poland, all these places here, Russia is surrounded by NATO, by the U.S.-led NATO forces. This is becoming a very serious situation, guys. And Russia being down there in Syria with very little backup in the region. And of course, Israel is sitting off on the sidelines right now. And I don't think that it's that big of a threat for Israel at this point here. But if Prime Minister Netanyahu, at the pressure of the Obama administration, has been using a heavier hand on the Syrian army to try to get a reaction out of them, or out of maybe even, especially with Hezbollah moving in there. Let one of the mortars from Hezbollah stray over into Israel. Israel's going to definitely react with them. I guarantee you that. It's going to be worse than the Syrian army doing it. He's going to react heavily, and then Hezbollah will retaliate. Russia, I believe, has a little bit better hand in controlling that of Hezbollah, but I don't know about Syria. Controlling Syria, but I don't know that about Hezbollah. So the point is, guys, it's appearing to me as I'm watching these things that are going on that the Obama administration may be very desperate for a war. And a lot of things are happening right here before the elections. And I'm wondering if it may not be to get a war going before November. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Again, don't forget about us, guys, in your giving. If God lays that upon your heart, we do need your help. Here in Israel, we'll be going into Jerusalem again tomorrow. We'll be there for the remainder of the time there. And also be going up to the Syrian border because of all this conflict that's going on up in that region there, especially with Hezbollah moving in now to the Syrian side. We really need to get an idea of what's going on. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Shalom and good evening.